Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Melanoma Canada for inviting me um, to be a part of their team. I know there's over 200 volunteers that spend their time raising awareness, bringing awareness to melanoma across Canada, and I can't thank each and every one of you enough because you are spending your time looking out for all of us and making sure that we are being preventive in taking care of our skin so that we live long and happy lives. So thank you to all the volunteers that spend their time looking out for us. Really much appreciated. Uh, my story, if you haven't heard, is quite unique. I'm a very, very fortunate human. I'm going to start with my story quickly. I'm sure some of you have heard it. I work for the Vancouver Canucks. We were playing a game in Seattle, the first ever game in Seattle Kraken home, their first ever home game in Seattle Kraken history, when that amazing human who's on the screen now uh, spotted a mole on the back of my neck. And the crazy part about her spotting it is that I wasn't standing in front of her. We were at opposite ends of the bench the entire night. I just happened to walk by and hand something to my coworker. And when I stretched out my arm to hand that to my coworker, she got maybe a 2-second glimpse of this mole. And then it was about 15 minutes later when I walked by her again. And in that 15 minutes, she had typed a message on her phone that brought my attention to the fact that there's a mole on the back of my neck that I had no idea about. So I quickly read the note, went about my day, came home that night. We flew home from Seattle. I live in Vancouver. And when I woke up the next morning, I asked Jessica, my wife, if about this. I told her the story, and she looked at the back of my neck, and she agreed. I took a photo of it. I looked at it because it's the only way I could see it. And fortunately, in my profession, we have a doctor at every game in case of emergency. So on the Tuesday night, I asked the doctor to look at it, and he didn't like it. So on the Thursday night before the game, he cut it out and sent it off. She was right. It was malignant melanoma. So I had a second procedure done. I have, if I can screen share, that is the mole that she spotted on the back of my neck, which you also have to take into consideration. I had a high collar jacket on and a radio on the back of my neck. And so how she spotted it, I don't know. And so I quickly, as we go back to the Thursday, the doctor cut it out. And that's me about 20 minutes before face off against the Philadelphia Flyers. He cut out my mole and he sent it off. And when I got the results that it was a malignant melanoma, I then went to a plastic surgeon and had a second procedure. And that's it there. So uh, I was very, very fortunate in that I had a doctor ready available and could help me out. I was extremely fortunate that I had this person who took the time to get my attention, noticed the mole, took the time to get my attention, and then was very persistent in how she did it. I think the biggest lesson for me was trying to find her and reach out and say thank you. We reached out to the Seattle Kraken and told them what happened, and they did a LinkedIn profile search of all the season ticket members behind the Kraken bench. And there is a doctor that holds season tickets there. So we honed in on her. It took about 2 weeks to get a hold of her or get her to reply, and it wasn't her. So we were going back to Seattle on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. And on New Year's Eve, we penned a letter and we put it out on Twitter on New Year's Day. And we found Nadia within an hour of Twitter and social media reaching out to get her attention. Turns out she was coming to the game that night, so now I get to meet her. I'm walking into a room with this human who did the most unbelievably unselfish thing for me. And what do I say to her? And how do I thank her? All these thoughts are going through my head. And then I walk in the room to meet her, and she's just as excited to meet me as I am to meet her. I think the biggest part for me was that she felt bad for what she had done. She felt bad that she made a comment on my body and maybe hurt my feelings because I just read it and walked away. And one of the things I've taken from this whole experience is that we need to listen, we need to trust what people are saying to us, and we need to act on what they're saying to us in a positive way and not get upset. It really hurt when I found out that October 23rd was when she pointed out on my neck, and January 1st was when she found out she was right. All that time she thought, and I'm sure she didn't think about it a lot, but when she talked to me, she said she felt like she had hurt my feelings. She felt like she had insulted me. And she was so thankful to know that I had acted upon it and she was right and that she didn't hurt my feelings. And so the biggest thing I take out of the whole thing is like I can't thank her enough for what she did, but I also am happy that I didn't do what she thought. I didn't get upset. I didn't get mad that she said that about my body. And you don't know what people know when they're talking to you. And if I hadn't listened to her and if I had fluffed it off, I'd still be living with malignant melanoma in my neck. So I meet her. She's absolutely fantastic. She's more welcoming and thankful to me. Both of our lives changed. She's now going to University of Washington. She's working in a dermatology clinic. She's volunteering. She's super appreciative of everything that happened in the story. And I couldn't be more happy for her. So now for me, Melanoma Canada reached out, and of course I jumped on it because the crazy part about this story when something like this happens is how many people reached out and have been affected by it. The amount of people that came up to me and said, "Oh, my dad died of melanoma," or "Oh, my mom died of melanoma," or "My aunt had melanoma," and it's unbelievable how many people have been affected by melanoma that you didn't know. I use the analogy when you go to get a car and you look at a car that you've never seen before, and then you drive off the lot and you drive down the street, all of a sudden you see this car everywhere. It's at every red light. It's everywhere you see. Well, that's the way melanoma has been for me, is that people that I'm very, very close to have been affected by it. And I had no idea um, the impact it's played in people's lives until it happened to me and it was public. I was walking the dog in our neighborhood, and a gentleman who I don't we say hi to each other. He came running down his driveway and said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And I was like, "What did I do?" And he said, "My wife has had a spot on her back, and I've been begging her to have it looked at. And when she saw your story, she made a doctor's appointment. She's going to have it looked at." It's that's the story that I want out there. That's what I want people doing. That's what I want today's presentation to be about. Don't think it can't happen to you, because I did. I was 13 years old when I started working in the CFL with the BC Lions. I was outside every day of the summer catching footballs for Lou Pasaglia and helping with practice and getting sunburnt, and a month-long training camp in Kelowna and month-long training camp in Kamloops. And I would get burnt on the back of my neck, and I was 13, 14, 15, and I never really thought about the effect it would have on me. And I skied growing up. We had a pool in our backyard growing up. All these things I'm learning in the last 6 months played into the effects it would have on me and how I could easily prevent it with putting sunscreen on. So it's now my job to give back to people like Nadia gave to me, to bring awareness, to make sure that we all understand it can happen to anybody. It can happen at any time. It can happen to me. It can happen to you. We can prevent it. Like I said, we have 200 volunteers that volunteer their time to make sure we're wearing sunscreen, to make sure we're wearing a hat, to make sure we're not getting sunburnt. We can get sunburnt on a cloudy day. I learned that Vancouver is a hotspot for melanoma due to the water, the reflection off the water, the skiing, the outside. Um, so I feel like it's my new mission in life to try to give to as many people as I can what Nadia gave to me, which is I was so fortunate. It hadn't spread. I I don't know what would have had the doctor when I got the phone call. The doctor said to me after he got the results, he said, "I'm going to diagnose you with cancer and I'm going to cure you with cancer in the same phone call because you got it early enough that it hadn't spread, and we believe we got it all. And we're going to do the second procedure as a precaution." But I think to myself, if Nadia hadn't have had that conversation with me, I'm having a different conversation with a doctor in 4 or 5 years. And so please get checked. Have people check you if you see differences on your body. Um, don't turn a blind eye because you never know. It's such a powerful and scary disease, yet it's also preventable. Cancer for my family has been very prevalent. My dad died of cancer. My sister died of cancer. Her daughter, my niece, died of cancer. And my mom's first son, who was born before I was born, died of cancer. So the reason, there's many reasons that I give Nadia so much glory, or so much, like, I just love her to bits and pieces, because I'm the first one that got to say to my mom I had cancer. And that's unmeasurable in my family. So I can't thank Nadia enough, and I can't wait to play a part in Melanoma Canada and help spread the word so that someone else can sit here in a webinar and tell the story of how they were at the dog park and somebody said, "Hey, look what's going on. Like, you should get that looked at." And when someone says that to you, let's have it looked at, because they're not making fun of you. They're not trying to insult you. They're trying to help you. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned throughout this whole thing. And I want to pass on to everybody else.